Everything was good to the point of the starter. We had power there. However, it wasn't doing nothing. So I gave it a couple taps and the starter kicked off and started up. So we're gonna start by taking this filter box off, 8mm. Your cabin air filter. Plugs up here. Air temp or something. That one's done. There's a clip here. Okay, there's a couple clips. Pulls this cowl panel down. Same thing on this side. Pop both your covers off. At this point, on each corner, we'll have a retaining bolt. 8mm. Don't make this difficult. All right, once you get that out, then it just pops out. Yep. All right, 10mm. There's some things we want to pop out of our way to keep them from breaking and whatnot. So I'm going to pop this hose off. Not really necessary, but I want to avoid breaking anything. Reservoir for the power steering. I'm going to zip them two retainers. Bolts off. We're not going to take any hoses off of the reservoir because we don't want the fluid to drain itself, but we are going to use this to move it out of our way. Two spacers, you don't really want to lose that. Take a flathead screwdriver or whatever you want to use. Use a socket on that as well. Loosen that hose clamp up. You're gonna have to unplug the mass airflow sensor here. I'll just move this box out of our way so you guys can see what I'm dealing with down here. This all gives us room to move the manifold over. 5mm Allen socket. 1, 2. Back one's already out. All right. Slide that out of the way. Now we have access. I'll tell you what, over here, this is going to give you a little bit more wiggle room if you get this unplugged right away. This one here. And this one here. Okay, now that we have access to the retaining bolts to the manifold, we're going to take and remove those. They are 11mm, oddly enough. Remove all the bolts and nuts. To make life a little bit easier, we're going to take and remove these studs. All right, using a T6 inverted female Torx. I'm going to take and remove the studs. All right, before I remove the manifold, I just want to make sure there's nothing laying up top that might fall in. This plug for the oil pressure sensor. Okay, and that gives us access to the light I dropped the other day. Make sure you have your battery disconnected in the trunk. This battery is located on the passenger side. Put this in there for now. All right, this is gonna be a little hard to see, but and you can do this before popping the manifold or however you want to do it. What you see me doing now is getting down in there with the inverted Torx and removing that. Okay, what you can do is you get down there with a 12-point 11mm wrench. All right, do yourself a little bit of favor. Remove this hose. It's brittle and you will break it. You have to reach back here and get that starter bolt, the one I broke loose. All right, that's that one out. I should replace them aluminum bolts. Remember that's that inverter Torx I was telling you about. It's an E14. One more underneath. Not always so easy, so just bear with me. Take this time, disconnect this wire. That's a 13. It could be in there pretty tight. So, self a pry bar. You have to persuade it. There it goes. Just sneak her up and out. There's your starter. You can see where I whacked on it from up top to get her to go. All right, guys, we're back. I got the brand new starter. Use new bolts. I'm gonna reach behind, do the classic reach around, put the top bolt in. And the top bolt is the longer of the two. All right, now we got the starter slid in there. Like I said, I go in, do the top bolt, and then the bottom one. Everything's tight. I also put the plastic hose back on and ran it back to the back. Like I said, I just simply take it off so I don't break it because everything's so brittle. Next, I'm just gonna take and remove the duct tape. Good time to replace your intake gaskets. Everything looks good. Take back in place. We can start the ones that are not studs just to hold this. It's amazing how much plastic they use. I'm only running them down with my fingers, but it holds the manifold somewhat in place for you. And put studs pretty much in the center. Three nuts. Install these nuts. Starting from the inside out, you want to torque the intake manifold to 11 foot-pounds, which is about 132 inch-pounds. Tighten it down evenly. As you can see, I'm not torquing yet. I'm just running them all down so they evenly touch. Start from the inside out. All right, now just work your way through and count them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, just as we took it apart, we want to put it back together. This harness just simply flips around. Switch back up. Don't overcomplicate anything. But we also don't want to miss anything. Oil pressure sensor gets plugged back in. I believe that's all I unplugged. So I want to make sure. I try to put everything back in their original locations, and you'll see there's like a, when you're doing it, there's like a spot, you'll see where the hose clamp used to be. The mass airflow sensor incorporated. Put our hose in. There you go. All right, I got the mass airflow sensor plugged in, that hose clamp tightened up. So our two nuts. Okay. And we got this hose here. These are all things you just take off proactively and keep from breaking. All right, these all clip back in. We're ready to try it. Make sure the new starter is good. everything sounds good. No odd lights on the inside except for I have a headlight out or something. You have these plastic clips. Just wanted to pause here for a moment. At this point, you would normally put the engine cover on prior to putting this cowl panel and back together because of the back bolt. However, since those are missing, I can simply slide that in place afterwards. This is all in. There you go. It's not the easiest. Remember, you got 2 8mm on each side. You got these little plastic things that slide in there like so. You'll see this wire feeds around nicely. Nothing tight. It's just snug. A lot of times I find these and they're just very tight. These plastic tabs. That's it. That will take care of air ducts. Simple enough. Put them in. At this point, I'm able to slide this cover in because we're only using the 2 front bolts. Start it up one more time before I pull it outside. All right, I think we got it. So far, everything sounds good. Until next time, stay tuned.